my great pleasure to introduce the state senator for our community, a dynamic leader, one who is listening to our voice all the time, who is in our community, who is present, who is active, and who's going to help, again, bring resources to our community. It's my great pleasure to introduce the senator from the 5th District, Senator Brian Williams.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Chris, for the kind introduction. I am currently sitting across from my brother who is getting married today.
Yeah.
And
congratulations.
I am his best man. So I wanted to make sure I called in. And even though this is a great day for our family, this is also a testament to how important that Beyond Housing has been, not only to our community and our region, but our entire state. I was looking at listening to Chris earlier, and I was thinking about the mission of this particular conference and this ignite opportunity in our community. And that's a very, very powerful statement. It's so important that we ignite opportunity for our community, because our community deserves it. And our community has proven when we invest in it, we only see strong and positive results. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to update you on issues that we're focusing on in Jefferson City. This past year was a major focus of mine, which was passing historic legislation that would address a range of issues, including police reform, criminal justice reform, expungement reform, freeing the wrongfully imprisoned like Lamar Johnson, and making sure that children are not put in adult jail. One of my legislative priorities this past legislative session was police reform. One of the most important things that we can do, and Chris stated this earlier, is really focus on making our streets safer and improve the relationship between police officers and the communities that they serve. That's why I sponsored Senate Bill 60, which was legislation with progressive police reforms, but also criminal justice reforms. Specifically, what my legislation did was prohibit law enforcement from using a respiratory chokehold in the state of Missouri. We increased the penalty to a Class E felony for officers and correctional staff who engage in any level of misconduct with a person in their custody. We also would prevent officers who have been discharged from one department for wrongdoing from simply moving to another department. As you know, within the 24-1 footprint in my Senate district, we have several municipalities in our region, and they have police departments. And we want to ensure that bad officers are not bouncing from police department to police department. We also would require Missouri law enforcement agencies to collect and report local data each year on use of force incidents. And with these long overdue changes, we can begin to improve, in my opinion, police community relations and ultimately restore the trust that is the very foundation of public safety. But let me be clear about one thing. This is not a us versus them situation. These are important reforms that have been embraced by law enforcement groups and advocates, including the NAACP, the National Association of Social Workers, the Missouri Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, and the ACLU. This bill was signed into law and it took effect August 28th. And I want you to know that this is a big win for justice in our state. For those who are not familiar with the legislative makeup in Jefferson City, we have a super majority Republican legislature. And as a Democrat, it is very difficult for folks like myself to work through that body. So to be able to get this legislation across the finish line took a lot of work, but it was also driven by being able to speak to the desires, the needs, and assessing our community. I want to talk about two other priorities before I finish up, which is also equally important. One is expungement. We made significant progress with this bill also to change our expungement laws. And in order to have a stronger community and make sure people are safe, we also have to make sure that people who have served their time and their debt to society can re-enter back into society with a good job and also be paid a great wage. So my legislation would also make expunging nonviolent criminal records easier. What we did was lower the earliest time to request an expungement from 7 years to 3 years for a felony, and for 3 years down to 1 year for a misdemeanor. We also had a provision that we included in this bill also, which would address freeing innocent people from prison. Another reason I want to touch on this issue of innocent people being locked up in jail is you may have heard on the news recently the cases of Lamar Johnson in St. Louis and Kevin Strickland in Kansas City. Lamar Johnson had been in prison now for more than 25 years for a crime that even local prosecutors now believe that he did not commit. Kevin Strickland has been in prison for more than 40 years to date for a crime that 2 other people have since admitted to committing, and those 2 individuals have now been released from prison. You'll think that if the prosecutor, wants to review a case and free an innocent man, they would be able to do that. But earlier this year, the Missouri Supreme Court said that there is no Missouri law that allows a prosecutor to reopen an old case on the grounds of wrongful prosecution. So the Supreme Court went on to say that the legislature needed to pass a new law to give prosecutors and judges the power to review and reverse old convictions. So that's folks like Wesley Bell, who can now file a motion to vacate under the bill that we passed this year to address those particular issues. And I want to make sure that it's clear to everybody that it's shameful that Missouri's existing laws prior to us passing my legislation was denying innocent men and women justice. But Senate Bill 60 would also begin to right this wrong. And I'm extremely proud of this legislation. And again, it would allow prosecutors or circuit attorneys to file a motion to vacate convictions if they believe the convicted person is innocent. The local circuit can then hear the motion, and the judge would now have authority to vacate the conviction. I want to also talk about something that's important as well that was included in this bill, raising the age for incarcerated minors. We have so many young people right now that are currently, before this bill was passed, that were in adult prison, but also under the age of 18 and considered a juvenile. So what this bill would also do is require a juvenile under the age of 18 who has been certified to stand trial as an adult remain in juvenile detention instead of adult jail, pending the finalization of the judgment. So it would require all previously certified pretrial juveniles under the age of 18 to be transferred from adult jail to secure juvenile detention facility. Now, in a perfect world, and I'm just being straight up with you guys, we would have a legislature and a majority party that would be willing to go further. But I won't let a long journey stop me from taking the first step. These are great reforms that would save Black lives. They would ban chokeholds with this bill. It would stop sexual misconduct. We would stop departments from hiring problem officers with this bill. We would help free innocent people with this bill. And these are real reforms that would make a real difference day one. Before I wrap up, there's another incredibly important issue that I hope everyone is paying close attention to, and that's protecting our right to vote. This summer, President Biden denounced efforts by lawmakers in Republican-led states like Missouri, who are trying to impose new restrictions on voting. The president correctly described these efforts as 21st century Jim Crow assault. Now more than ever, we all have to recognize that we need a federal voting rights law to protect voters in places like our home state, Missouri. We need to know the Republican plan, and we want to make it hard, and they want to make it hard and inconvenient for us to vote. And we cannot allow that to happen. So in 2022, Missouri Republicans will almost certainly try to pass a new voter ID law. And as Chris stated earlier, we have to pay attention to what's happening, not only in the legislature, but be involved in the process to hold our elected leaders accountable and make sure that they aren't taking votes to force through both chambers and have the governor sign it that would ultimately infringe on our right to vote. So the big question we need to ask ourselves is, what positive amendments can we add to soften the blow? Do we add more polling locations, no excuse early voting, free IDs? And then I also hope in Washington, DC, that they passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But here at home, we have our own work to do, and that's to protect the people's right to vote, not only in the St. Louis region, but throughout the entire state of Missouri. And I believe in the coming weeks and months, you'll hear a lot about voting rights and the efforts to make it even harder to vote. So just please know that I share your concerns. We're ready to do everything we can to protect your right to vote. And in closing, I want to thank you all, Beyond Housing, the phenomenal staff that worked very hard every day for our community, and the opportunity to be with all of you and discuss issues. Because I do know sometimes our country and our community seems deeply divided, especially with political fights playing out 24/7 on cable news, right? But I truly believe there's more that unites us than divide us. And as a member of the state Senate, I'm proud to represent every single one of you and everyone in the state, and not just people who voted for me. And I truly hope other leaders feel the same way, because public safety, freeing the innocent, protecting voting rights should not be partisan positions. They truly should be common goals that we all share. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with all of you. I'm looking forward to continuing the partnership with Beyond Housing. I'm continuing to looking to bring in our region to a place that I know it can be and a place that it deserves to be. And again, God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Williams, for your passion, your leadership, your continued connectivity to our community, to being a partner with us and listening to our voice. We appreciate it greatly. And on this fantastic day for your brother, we collectively wish him and his bride to be a lifetime of love and happiness. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Hey, thank you all so much. God bless you all.